You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bulls Postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. The Bulls end the regular season with a victory, 122-102 over the Philadelphia 76ers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So on today's show, we're going to talk about a little bit about this game. The starters only played the first half, so there's not a ton to deep dive into, but we'll talk quickly about what we saw from Kevin Huerter, who did, who didn't play, and then we'll really get into looking forward for this team and backwards. We're going to talk about the injury updates from Josh Giddey, Lonzo Ball, expectations for them for the play-in tournament before they play the Miami Heat on Wednesday night, and we'll do our player of the year, our turning point of the year, and what you'll be talking about going into the play-in tournament and in the offseason. Reminder, my name is Joe George. You find me on Twitter at Joe George Radio. Hit that subscribe button to the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel, and you can find us anywhere you find the Locked On Bulls audio podcast as well, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is, you can find it. Make sure you follow or subscribe there as well. So the Bulls win this game 122-102. They end the season 21-20 on the road, above 500 on the road this year. So this game starts off, we know Josh Giddey's not playing. They're talking about that wrist injury, which we'll get into in a little bit here. So the normal starters who were there on Friday are here in this game as well. Buzelis, Phillips, Vucevic, Coby White, and Kevin Huerter. The only one of those guys that played more than 20 minutes in this game was Julian Phillips. Kevin Huerter was really the story of the first half, I would say, for the Bulls. He's 5 for 5 to start from three, ends up going 5 for 7. So he takes advantage of really kind of being the free-flowing shooter in this game, ends up with 18 points. Nikola Vucevic, even though he only played 17 minutes in this game, nearly had a double-double, 8 points, 8 assists. So he was very good in his limited minutes, was 3 for 10 from the field, but was really controlling the pace of the game there in the first half. So yes, this is a Windy City Bulls victory, as Zach says here in the chat, because, well, the Bulls were losing at halftime. They were down 56-49. And then the backups came in. We saw everyone from Emmanuel Miller to Taylor Horton-Tucker, Javon Carter, Jameer Young, EJ Liddell. They all played minutes in the second half. So it was the Windy City Bulls that got the victory in this one. So let's talk more about, now that's the game recap, right? Like there's nothing else to really take away from the game. Let's talk about a couple other things before we look back at the injuries, or look at the injuries and look back at this season. So the Bulls end the regular season 21-20 on the road. And this is what they've done in the regular season in the last 3 years. 40 wins in the 2022-23 season, 39 wins last year. And because of this win, they end up with 39 wins again, the 9 seed every single time. But I've got a thought on this. Yes, the record shows no improvement. It shows no step backwards. It shows no improvement. It shows nothing. It shows the Bulls are just the Bulls. That's what the record shows. However, I feel better today about the Bulls than I did at any point when those last 2 seasons before this one ended. Because for the first time, I actually, while I don't believe in this ownership group and management team, I actually like the pieces that they've put together when you think about the future of the organization. Josh Giddey's going to get paid this summer, I think, by the Bulls. At this point, I hope by the Bulls. We saw Coby White really emerge this year after Zach LaVine was traded. And Modest Buzelis seems like a home run of a draft pick. So, yes, even though you're still the 9 seed, I still just feel more optimistic about this team as the regular season ends versus where I felt the last 2 years. It just feels like they're on a better path. Now, is it the best path they could be on? No. They could have been in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes or going after one of the kids from Rutgers. They're not, but so they're in the same spot. But again, it just feels like there's a better direction where this team is going right now. So that to me is a positive at the end of the season. And overall, I think this season, if you try to quantify into, is this season, good, bad, ugly, positive, negative, like what is this season? I think for me, it is generally positive, and this all goes back to Modest Buzelis. Played 80 games this season, the most of any guy on the roster this year. And we saw the growth, when he would first come in to eventually becoming a starter. We saw multiple times this year where he would really struggle and Billy Donovan would not take him out of the starting lineup. He might bench him for games, but the growth from Modest Buzelis to me is really the most important story from this last year, alongside now what you've gotten from Josh Giddey, where again, You saw him at the beginning of the year when Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball are all out there. Josh Giddey taken off the court by choice by Billy Donovan in crunch time. Obviously, that's no longer the case. Even if Lonzo Ball plays in the play-in tournament, even if Io was still here right now, he is part of your closing group. That's a huge development. And the way he's played post-deadline, him and Coby White, both positive as well. Do I still wish they would have traded Nikola Vucevic at the deadline now that the regular season's over? And yes, they're going to play in a play-in tournament. And yes, I believe they're going to come out of the play-in tournament as the 8th seed. Absolutely. But they didn't do it. So generally, I would say this is a positive season for the Bulls. It's not a A+ positive or anything like that, but there are positive things from this year. All right, things we're going to do on this show. Injury updates, player of the year, turning point of the year, what you'll be talking about after this game. Before we get to our break, let's talk about the injury update. So obviously we see Josh Giddey not play in this game. Here's what Casey Johnson tweeted before the game. Josh Giddey remained in Chicago to get treatment on his wrist. Billy Donovan said there's high level of optimism he'll be able to play on Wednesday versus Miami, but it's the wrist that's hampering Giddey, and it does remain a concern. So it sounds like he's going to play. As Adam and me and Stacey King were talking about it on the broadcast. They also seemed positive that he was going to play on Wednesday night on ESPN against the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament. So all expectations are at this point that Josh Giddey will be playing against the Heat. You have no chance against the Heat, honestly, without him. If you're going to win that game, if you're going to do what I think they will again, make it out of the play-in tournament, you need Josh Giddey there for both of those games, especially that first one at the United Center. Now, Lonzo Ball, honestly, didn't even think we'd be getting one of these updates at any point. But Lonzo Ball and obviously Trey Jones both remain out. Trey Jones is still in a walking boot, so that's done with. But Billy Donovan, before the game, did say he'd be willing to play Lonzo Ball in the play-in tournament without any regular season action if Ball progresses, but that Lonzo Ball will have a short leash. But my expectation, honestly, come here. My son just walked into the room. Apologies for that. I'll delete this out of the audio. But if you look at what happened this season with Lonzo Ball, like it seems like it would be a huge mistake to play him in the play-in tournament. Yes, leave. Sorry about that. My son just walked in. But I don't expect to see Lonzo Ball in the playing game this on Wednesday. That to me just feels like a huge risk that you don't really need just to change it at this point, mainly because I don't want to see him get hurt again. And honestly, how effective can he really be at this point in the season without a bunch of playing time? And that's why, yes, the short leash, I think, is a good comment by Billy Donovan. But I would just be honestly surprised if we saw Lonzo Ball play on Wednesday night. So Josh Giddey, I think, will be there. All signs seem to be pointing there, obviously, with the wrist injury. Like, we have to be, wait for sure to find out, but we will see. All right, when we get back, let's get to our player of the year. Two guys really clearly at the top of this list, our turning point of the year, and what you'll be talking about going to the playing game and in the offseason. All coming up next here on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Luka Doncic, you can look at him, or you can look at, obviously, guys like Josh Giddey, Nikola Vucevic for the Bulls in the play-in tournament. You can look at what's going on for either Sunday Night Baseball or other games coming up for the Cubs. Kyle Tucker, more for him every single game, it feels like right now. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's show also brought to you by WayFair. Spring is here, and that means it's time for home project season. Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, WayFair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. From small updates like stylish cabinets hardware to major upgrades like new vanities, sinks, or outdoor lighting, WayFair has quality products for every single budget. anything you want to upgrade. So you want to work on that patio, you want to find somewhere nice to be sitting outside in that beautiful Chicago summertime weather, to be hanging out with your friends, all that you can do at WayFair. WayFair makes home improvement easy. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAR.com. WayFair, every style, every home. Today's show also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here basically right now, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when new FanDuel customers join and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. It's super easy to use. You get real-time updates with what's going on, whether it's you're going to three-pointers, to steals, to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, so for the rest of the show, let's get into our player of the year, turning point of the year, and what you'll be talking about going into the play-in tournament and in the postseason. So let's kick this off here with our player of the year.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
So by default, quickly, Kevin Huerter, player of the game, even though he only played in the first half. But player of the year, I think it's Josh Giddey. Now, Josh Giddey, to me, it's him or Coby White. Those are your two options. Now, obviously, Coby White had that stretch where he was dropping 20 points on every single night, had multiple 30-point games, a player of the month, the only Bulls player. So kind of by de facto, I feel like he should be the player of the year. But I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I'm going to go with Josh Giddey because the maturation of his game that we saw from the first half of the season to what we saw post second half of the season, I think him and Coby together are really why it worked for the Bulls and why they turned it around so well. But I think Coby White was unlocked because of Josh Giddey's playmaking ability, how it looked with Zach Collins, how it looked with everyone out there that was newly acquired, Kevin Huerter, the development of Modest Buzelis, and of course the continued success of Nikola Vucevic as he became the second most double-doubles in Chicago Bulls history. I think Josh Giddey is just a huge part of that and the reason why the Bulls season turned around. So on the year, Josh Giddey nearly averaged a triple-double. Like, that's one of the things about this season too is, yes, he does not have the 20-point total points per game total that Coby White has, averaging 14.7 points per game this year. Ends up with his final total is 8.1 rebounds per game, 7.2 assists per game. So he was just really, again, the guy that to me drove this team in the right direction. And I think that that's why what excites me again about the future of this team and why I give Josh Giddey the player of the year is because what we saw from Coby White, I think it just unlocks him going forward. And hopefully we continue to see more of this with Coby, Modest, and Giddey. I do think that's a foundation that the Bulls can actually try to build something around. And if they actually can't ever attract a big name free agent or really get the lottery balls to fall their way, or maybe make a move this offseason, the Bulls can continue to head in a fairly positive direction. Let's get to now our turning point of the 2024 and 2025 NBA season.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So there's two parts to this. The negative side of this, I would say, is really, I think the main turning point is officially when Joel Embiid was shut down for the year. Because that, to me, was when the Bulls had everything locked up at that point. But I'm going to go back to this stretch here. So March 2nd, March 4th, the Bulls have back-to-back losses. After that point, the Bulls only lost 5 games the rest of the year. They went 15-5, their final 20 games. But 8 of those wins, and this is why, to me, it's important, 8 of those wins were against playoff or play-in teams. So 8 of your 20 wins are against good competition. Now, yes, there is times when guys wouldn't play, you would miss guys. So yes, those numbers can be skewed a little bit, but you played that big West Coast trip where you lost to, the Houston Rockets. You also lost recently after that to the Dallas Mavericks, but that was by a combined 4 points. So 2 other playoff or play-in teams that you competed with. And for the most part, except really when they played the Thunder and the Cavs, they held their own in all of these losses. They played well in pretty much all of them. So the Bulls' final 20 games of the season, that's the turning point, is to me March 6th, is at that point after back-to-back losses, they turned this thing around and really figured it out. And honestly, if you want to go back just like a little bit farther, if you go back to February 24th, they only lost 8 times since February 24th. And that's really when the post-All-Star break figured it out. Kevin Huerter got better. Josh Giddey, Coby White, that's when he started his run. And Modest Buzelis was going through a funk kind of right around that time, but he started to figure it out as well. So I would say March 6th for me is going to be the turning point of the season, not just when they traded Zach LaVine, because it wasn't pretty immediately. All right, before we wrap up today's show, let's get to what you'll be talking about going into the play-in tournament and into the offseason.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Biggest thing that we'll be talking about going into the play-in tournament, there's 2 factors. One, again, Josh Giddey, his status update. Again, they feel positive and optimistic that his wrist will be okay enough to play on Wednesday, because obviously this is a different beast playing the Miami Heat if they are not able to get Josh Giddey back on the court. The other thing that I'm most curious about on Wednesday is 2 guys, Coby White, Modest Buzelis. Now, we've seen Coby White in the play-in tournament before. We haven't seen, obviously, Modest Buzelis there. We know that in the playoffs, the intensity ticks up a little bit. And this is where, and I hope, that's why I really hope it's more than just 2 games. I hope the Bulls make it, because the more I think you can learn about this team, the better. So the farther they can go, even though if it's just out in 6 games or 5 games into the real first round of the playoffs, it's just better for the Bulls. But Modest Buzelis, his size, that's something I've talked about a lot on these shows. It's just there's times when it feels like you can tell he needs to put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle to really be able to take his game to the next level. So how does he look? What does he look like in the play-in tournament? As the Miami Heat are going to be highly physical, how does he handle that in this game? And then hopefully they can find a way to play the Cavs and see how he handles that as well. So that to me is important. The other part of this too with Josh Giddey, not just his status, but we do know the shooting was considerably better this year. Now, this does factor into the wrist injury a little bit, of course, where if he can't shoot the ball very well, that does make things a little bit more challenging. I'm just curious how teams are going to play Josh Giddey in the playoffs or in the play-in games. Like if they're going to say, you know what, if you want to shoot it, go for it. If you beat us, you beat us. Kind of how we've seen teams in recent years handle Russell Westbrook. I'm wondering if that's going to be the strategy for the Miami Heat and potentially others as they play Josh Giddey, hopefully as he returns on Wednesday. And then into the offseason, Giddey again will be the question, but really the bigger question will be not just Josh Giddey and his contract and what the Bulls will or will not do, but it's going to be how much of this team will still be here next year. I do think that it's not going to be a dramatically different roster. I'm going to be honest. I think Zach Collins could be back. I think Nikola Vucevic for sure will be gone. Obviously, you'll have a first-round pick. But I know a lot of people are already kind of speculating the Bulls and the Kings might get in business together for the 3rd time in a calendar year. And a lot of people think that Domantas Sabonis could be a guy the Bulls target this offseason. So he's kind of the name that I'm keeping an eye on in terms of additions, subtractions. It's Vooch is really the number 1 guy. And, of course, what happens to Josh Giddey. All right, that will do it for this final regular season show. We'll be here live on Wednesday night as soon as the Bulls and Heat playing game wraps up. So remember, if you listen on the audio feed, you can come on over to Locked On Sports Chicago on YouTube. We go live as soon as the game ends. And by the time we are done, the normal guys will go live on their channel, Locked On Bulls. So you can get double dose of Bulls content on Wednesday night, hopefully after the Bulls beat the Miami Heat. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you on Wednesday. Peace.